What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 1, Beast of the Week. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. Okay guys, so in this video, I'm just going to recap all the picks that I made throughout the week in one video with no promo cuts. It's just going to run through the whole thing. And at the very end, I'll give you my favorite overall Week 1 pick. I'll call him the Beast of the Week. At quarterback, I like Tom Brady with a great matchup versus the Houston Texans, who gave up the second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks last year. Although J.J. Watt will be back in action, you can't ignore Tom Brady, and you certainly don't want him to kill you in Week 1 if you don't play him. I wouldn't go heavy on Tom Brady here. I'm worried about J.J. Watt, and we don't know how teams have reshaped themselves from last year quite yet. Okay, now for a low-salary quarterback that may fly under the radar. I like Blake Bortles, facing the absolute worst team defense who gave up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks last year, the New York Giants. I've always liked Blake Bortles ever since John Gruden talked so highly of him when he first got to the league. Now Bortles is a seasoned player with much more experience under his belt, and I think he's going to have a breakout year. Okay, let's take a look at running backs. My stud running back this week is Alvin Kamara. The guy totally killed it last year. He was one of the highest scoring running backs because he can do it all. He averaged 6.3 targets per game, which is outstanding for running backs to get that kind of receiving production. His rush count increased towards the end of the year. He was getting 10 to 12 carries a game, and I think that number continues to rise as long as Kamara can stay healthy. We should be talking a lot about this guy as the season goes on. Now for a low salary running back. I like Marshawn Lynch, who really surprised me last year to see how much he had left in the tank. Lynch will be running on the LA Rams, who gave up the second most fantasy points to opposing running backs last year. Lynch could get the goal line carries, and at a low price, he doesn't need all that much to hit value. Marshawn Lynch will remain the starter this year, with Doug Martin competing for the backup job. Okay, who do we have at wide receiver? I have to go with AJ Green as my stud for Week 1. He averaged 9 targets per game last year, scoring an average of 14.9 fantasy points per game. I think it's time for AJ Green and Dalton to break out. It's been a bit disappointing up to this point. I think AJ Green and Andy Dalton have underachieved over the past couple years, and I'm looking for them to step it up. AJ Green ownership may be a bit low due to the lack of production for such a big star. He's a great stud to plug in for Week 1. He may surprise some people. For my wide receiver sleeper pick, I like Ted Ginn, who will be facing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who gave up the third most fantasy points to opposing receivers last year. Ted Ginn really started to come on at the end of the year, with his targets increasing from a great quarterback, Drew Brees. This might be one of my favorite sleeper picks of the week. Ted Ginn is a rising talent and should be in at least one of your lineups at such a low price. He can give you some nice salary relief so you can fit in those higher priced studs. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. Of course, my stud this week is Rob Gronkowski, an absolute beast, fully healthy, and will be one of Tom Brady's primary targets. He scored 16.9 fantasy points per game last year, with an average of 7.5 receptions per game. You can count on Gronk getting red zone targets almost every game. If Gronk stays healthy, the Brady to Gronk combo will be near unstoppable. You're going to have to pay up for Gronk, and sometimes it's hard to fit a high-priced tight end into your lineup. Use the Sleepers tool to find low-priced, productive players so you can fit guys like Gronk into one of your lineups. If you need a low-priced tight end, take a look at Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who will be facing the worst defense in the league last year, the New York Giants. If you decided to play Blake Bortles, Seferian-Jenkins will be one of Bortles' top targets. He averaged 7.9 fantasy points per game last year and 5.7 targets per game. Those numbers should rise this year as Seferian-Jenkins and Bortles continue to build chemistry on the field. Don't forget about David Johnson, who missed most of last season with a fractured left wrist. This guy is going to be hungry to make up for lost time. David Johnson will be the focal point of the Cardinals' offense, sometimes lining up as a wide receiver as the number 1 option. Johnson got 9 targets per game when he was healthy, and his quarterback says he's the best route runner on the team. Although Melvin Gordon took some personal time off during the preseason, he is good to go to start Week 1. Melvin Gordon averaged around 18 rushes and 5 targets per game last season and will continue to be a workhorse for the Chargers. I'm expecting a competitive game versus a middle-of-the-pack defense in the Kansas City Chiefs. I expect a great first game from Melvin Gordon right out the gate. Leonard Fournette had a great start to his rookie year last year, then kind of fizzled out for a bit as he struggled with some nagging injuries and team discipline policies. Expect to see that same energy to start the season from Fournette, who will continue to carry the improved Jacksonville Jaguars offense. Over 20 rushes per game last year, and he has a good matchup facing one of the worst defenses in the league, the New York Giants. Alex Collins has a lot to prove this year after being picked up off waivers to head up the Baltimore running back attack last year. Collins had a lot of success and will be given the chance to keep that role as long as his production continues. Alex Collins is facing the worst running back defense in the league last year. The Buffalo Bills gave up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs. This is a great spot for Alex Collins in Week 1. I like Michael Thomas facing a weak Tampa Bay passing defense in Week 1. Michael Thomas will be Drew Brees' #1 receiver, and he ranked 4th last year in receptions over 20 yards. So look for Michael Thomas to catch the deep ball from Drew Brees, and if he scores a touchdown on one of them, boom, Michael Thomas just hit value. Another guy I will have some exposure to is Keenan Allen, who will be Phillip Rivers' top target this year as long as he can stay healthy. Plagued with injury over the last 2 seasons, Keenan Allen is now healthy and ready to go, and he's already been named the Comeback Player of the Year. Keenan Allen has a great matchup in Week 1 versus the Kansas City Chiefs, the worst pass defense in the league last year, giving up the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. And make sure not to forget about Juju Smith-Schuster. How can you with a name like that? Juju came on strong at the end of last year, and with Antonio Brown taking the top coverage, Juju should be able to shine, giving Big Ben a second option when they shut down Antonio. Cleveland Browns were about middle of the pack last year defending wideouts, and just remember, Antonio Brown is sucking the defense to him, which opens up Juju for huge games, especially with Le'Veon Bell maybe not playing Week 1. The Juju Smith-Schuster should get plenty of work. And for a lower salary wide receiver, I like Chris Hogan, who should be the #1 target for Tom Brady until Julian Edelman returns to the field from his 4-game suspension. Chris Hogan has been improving his chemistry with Brady year after year, and now he finds himself front and center of the Patriots' passing attack. Brady can make receivers look like superstars, so just consider that when you think Chris Hogan doesn't have what it takes to put up big numbers. Okay, my sleeper pick at quarterback is Andy Dalton. Only $5,800 DraftKings salary, he will be low-owned quarterback. Even though he has a great matchup against the Colts, who aren't that good at defending fantasy quarterbacks, and were the 3rd worst team defense overall last year. The reason Dalton will be low owned is because he's put up some horrendous fantasy games that just killed the lineups of anyone who played them. You can see in the last 3 games last year, he scored 3 DraftKings points in one of the games. So yeah, there is a major risk with Dalton, but there's also big potential for him to have a huge game with AJ Green, which is what you'll need to happen for Dalton to hit value. Okay, let's take a look at the running backs. My sleeper pick at running back is James Conner. So unless you've been living under a rock somewhere, you've all heard that Le'Veon Bell has not reported for duty yet, which puts James Conner in line to start Week 1. This is huge news because James Conner has the price of a backup running back, but now he's going to be a starting running back. But at such a low price, it won't take much for him to hit value. Okay, now for wide receiver. My sleeper pick at wide receiver is Marquise Goodwin. There's good news and bad news for Goodwin. The good news is he's got the next Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy G throwing darts. Yes, I said it. The next Tom Brady is Jimmy G, and the 49ers have him. I'm happy for Jimmy getting out from under Tom Brady's shadow. I'm expecting big things from him this year. The bad news for Goodwin is he's facing the top defense last year in the Minnesota Vikings. That's one reason his ownership will be even lower than normal. And at $4,600 DraftKings salary, Goodwin only needs 1 touchdown to hit value. Okay, for tight end. My sleeper pick at tight end is Charles Clay. Only $3,500 DraftKings salary. He started getting heavily involved in the offense towards the end of the year, with 9 targets, 10 targets per game. And although he's facing a tough team defense in the Baltimore Ravens, the Ravens gave up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends, so that is the soft spot in the Ravens D. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $100 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and then we'll send you $100 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video, or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Help me, Kenny! I'm stuck in my room, Kenny! You've unlocked the bonus content. Okay guys, for the Beast of the Week, I just can't get off Chris Hogan. He's going to be the #1 target for Tom Brady. Julian Edelman has been out. Chris Hogan and Tom Brady have tons of chemistry together. Houston was ranked the 2nd worst defense overall and the 6th worst passing defense overall last year. Tom Brady is going to shred the Houston defense, and Chris Hogan is going to be at the center of it. The guy's only $6,100 DraftKings salary. He fits into every lineup. I love Chris Hogan for the Beast of the Week.